The wind howled like a hungry wolf. It bit at Ariston's face. He pulled his worn cloak tighter. It was thin comfort against the cold. Once he wore silks and velvet. Now rags were his only shield. His crown was lost. His kingdom was stolen. Usurper's laughter echoed in his memory. A cruel sound. He clenched his fists. His nails dug into his palms. The pain was a small, sharp thing. It reminded him he was still alive. Alive and in exile. He trudged through the muddy track. Rain lashed down. Each drop felt like a tiny accusation. You failed. You lost. The words swirled in his mind. He was far from his sun-drenched homeland of Eldoria. Here the forests were dark and menacing. The trees were twisted, skeletal figures. They seemed to mock his fallen state. He had no gold, no soldiers, no friends, only a burning core of shame, and a tiny, stubborn spark of anger. He was a king without a kingdom, a man without a home. His stomach growled. Hunger was a constant companion now. He remembered feasts in his grand hall, roasted boar and spiced wine. Now he searched for berries. He hunted small, scrawny rabbits if he was lucky. The taste of ash seemed to coat everything. Even the air felt heavy with defeat. He had been betrayed. His most trusted advisor, Lord Valerius, had opened the gates. Valerius, who had sworn loyalty on his own children's lives. The memory was a fresh wound. It bled inside him, a slow, constant ache. He found a shallow cave. It offered little shelter, but it was better than the open storm. He huddled inside. The damp rock chilled him to the bone. Sleep was a distant memory. When he closed his eyes, he saw the faces of his loyal men. He saw them fall. He heard their screams. He had escaped with his life. But what was a life like this? A life of running, a life of hiding. He was Ariston, son of Theron, the rightful king of Eldoria, and he would not remain broken, not forever. Days bled into weeks. The harsh land tested Ariston. He learned to read the signs of the forest. He learned to move like a shadow. His hands, once soft from courtly life, grew calloused. His body, once pampered, became lean and hard. The despair still gnawed at him, but a new feeling was stirring within. A grim resolve. He would not simply survive, he would endure. He would wait. He would find his chance. The usurper Vorlag would pay. Vorlag with his cruel eyes and iron fist. One evening, Ariston stumbled upon a hidden shrine. It was old, forgotten by most, dedicated to the ancient gods of courage and vengeance. He knelt before the weathered stones. He had nothing to offer, no sacrifices of gold or wine, only his pain, only his vow. "I have lost all," he whispered to the silent idols. "But I have not lost myself. Give me strength, show me the path." The wind seemed to die down for a moment. A strange stillness filled the air. He felt a flicker, a tiny spark in the vast darkness of his exile. He began to walk with purpose, not just away from his past, but towards something. He did not know what. But the act of moving forward felt different. He started to observe, to listen. He heard whispers in lonely hamlets, tales of Vorlag's cruelty, of heavy taxes, of people living in fear. Vorlag was strong, but he was not loved. This knowledge was a small weapon. Ariston clutched it tightly. Fear could be broken. Tyranny could be overthrown. He remembered his father's words. A king rules for his people, not over them. His first challenge was simple, yet it felt monumental. He saw a group of Vorlag's soldiers harassing a village elder. The old man was frail. The soldiers were arrogant. They laughed. Ariston felt the old fire surge, the fire of a king. He was one man, they were three, but he had nothing left to lose. He stepped out from the shadows. "Leave him be," Ariston commanded. His voice was rough, unused to command, but it held a new authority, an authority born of suffering, and of a slowly returning hope. The soldiers sneered. "Who are you to give orders, beggar?" one of them spat. Ariston did not flinch. He moved with a speed he didn't know he possessed. His desperation was a weapon. He fought not with skill, but with raw fury. He disarmed one. He used the man's own fear against him. The fight was brutal, short, he was bruised, bleeding. But the soldiers fled. The village elder looked at him. His eyes were ancient, wise. "You fight like a cornered lion," the old man said, "not a beggar." The elder's name was Kale. He had seen many winters. He had served Ariston's grandfather. He recognized the look in Ariston's eyes, the unmistakable mark of royalty, even hidden beneath dirt and rags. Kale offered him shelter, a warm fire, a bowl of hot stew. It was the first kindness Ariston had known in months. "Vorlag is a disease," Kale said, his voice low, "and the people whisper for a cure. They remember your father. They remember justice." Kale had sons, strong men, hidden in the hills, men who hated Vorlag. Kale sent word to his sons, Torvin and Bram. They came under the cloak of night. They were wary, suspicious. "Why should we trust you?" Torvin asked. His arms were crossed, his face was grim. Ariston looked him in the eye. "I offer no promises of gold," Ariston said. "No easy victory, only a chance to fight for what is ours, for a land free from fear." He spoke of their stolen homes, of their lost pride. He spoke of Eldoria. His words were simple, but they carried the weight of his suffering, the weight of his conviction. Bram, the younger brother, was moved. He saw the honesty in Ariston's gaze. Torvin remained skeptical, but he saw the fighter. He saw the resolve. "Words are wind," Torvin said, "but your actions in the village spoke louder." Kale nodded slowly. "The old wolf sees a cub with the heart of a lion," he declared. "We will follow you, not as a king, not yet, but as a leader. Show us you are worthy, and Eldoria may yet see its rightful ruler return." Ariston felt a surge of hope. He was no longer alone. He had his first allies. With Kale and his sons, Ariston began to move. They traveled through hidden paths, through whispering forests and forgotten valleys. Kale knew the land. He knew the people. He led Ariston to others who chafed under Vorlag's iron rule. Dispossessed farmers, outlawed woodsmen, soldiers who had refused to serve the usurper. Each meeting was a test. Ariston had to earn their trust. He had no crown to offer, no sigil to rally them, only his words, and the growing fire in his eyes. He met Lyra, a skilled archer. Her village had been burned by Vorlag's men, her family lost. Her grief was a cold, hard thing, but beneath it, a burning desire for justice. "Vorlag took everything from me," Lyra said, her voice tight. "I will see him pay. If you offer a true chance at that, my bow is yours." Ariston saw her pain. He understood it. "I cannot promise to heal your sorrow," he replied, "but I promise to fight beside you until the very end." Lyra looked at him. She saw not a king, but a fellow survivor. She nodded. Another spear for their cause. They grew in number, slowly, carefully. A small band of rebels. They were not an army, not yet. They were a rumor, a whisper of defiance. They raided Vorlag's supply lines, small victories. They freed prisoners. They shared what little they had. Ariston learned to lead, not by command but by example. He shared their hardships. He ate the same meager rations. He slept on the cold ground. He listened to their stories. He learned their names, their hopes, their fears. He was becoming more than just an exiled king. He was becoming their leader. One night, around a hidden campfire, Torvin spoke. "We are still too few. Vorlag has armies, castles. We have only passion." Ariston looked at the faces around the fire, faces etched with hardship, but also with determination. "Passion is a weapon Vorlag cannot understand," Ariston said. "He rules by fear. We fight for freedom. Every small victory, every new soul that joins us, weakens him. We are the spark. Soon, we will be a flame that will consume his tyranny." The men and women around the fire felt it, a sense of shared purpose, a growing belief. Their numbers swelled. Hope began to feel real, tangible. They planned a daring raid to capture a small fortress. It guarded a key mountain pass. If they took it, they could control movement. They could gather more support from the northern clans. Ariston felt a surge of confidence, perhaps too much. He trusted a newcomer, a man named Silas. Silas claimed to have escaped Vorlag's dungeons. He brought news of weaknesses in the fortress defenses. He seemed eager, loyal. Ariston, wanting to believe, welcomed him. The raid began under the cover of a moonless night. Lyra's arrows silenced the sentries. Torvin and Bram led the charge. Ariston fought at their side. They breached the outer gate. Victory seemed within their grasp. Then, the trap sprung. Silas was gone. Torches flared on the ramparts, horns blared, Vorlag's soldiers poured from hidden passages. They were surrounded, ambushed. Silas had betrayed them. The information he gave was a lie, a carefully crafted deception by Vorlag. The taste of it was bitter, like ash in Ariston's mouth. Panic threatened to shatter their small force. Men fell. Cries of pain echoed in the night. Ariston saw the despair in his followers' eyes. He felt his own heart sink. Betrayal cut deeper than any sword. It was his mistake. His trust had been misplaced. He had been a fool. For a moment, the old despair of exile washed over him, the feeling of utter failure. "Fall back!" he roared. "To the breach! We must escape!" He fought like a demon covering their retreat. His mind raced. How could he have been so blind? The weight of leadership felt crushing. They managed to fight their way out, but the cost was high. Many were lost. Bram was gravely wounded, carried by Torvin. Lyra's face was a mask of cold fury. The victory they had dreamed of had turned into a bloody rout. The retreat was grim, silent. Ariston walked among his wounded. His heart ached for each one. He saw the doubt in their eyes, the unspoken questions. Could he truly lead them? Was he no better than Vorlag, leading them to slaughter? The emotional battle within him was as fierce as the physical one they had just endured. This failure was his to bear. The defeat at the fortress was a harsh lesson. Morale was low. Bram's wound festered. Doubt spread like a sickness through their camp. Some whispered of abandoning the cause, of returning to their hidden lives. Ariston felt the weight of their despair. He knew he had to act. He could not let this setback break them. He tended to Bram personally. He shared his meager rations. He spoke to each follower, not as a king, but as a comrade. He admitted his mistake in trusting Silas. His honesty surprised many. "I was a fool," Ariston confessed to his inner circle. Cale, Torvin, Lyra. "My eagerness for a quick victory blinded me. I led us into a trap. Many paid the price for my error." Torvin, his face grim from worry over Bram, looked at him. "A leader who cannot admit fault is no leader at all," Torvin said, his voice rough. "But what now? Vorlag will be hunting us. He knows we are more than just bandits." Lyra added, "He will seek to crush us, to make an example of us. We need to strike back, but wisely this time. No more mistakes." Ariston knew they were right. They needed a victory, a real one to restore faith, to show Vorlag they were not broken. Cale brought news. Vorlag's most brutal commander, General Grok, was moving a large supply train through the Red River Valley. Grok was known for his cruelty. His men were feared. If they could defeat Grok, if they could seize those supplies, it would be a significant blow, a message to all of Eldoria. But Grok's forces were strong, disciplined. It was a great risk. Ariston devised a plan, a dangerous one, using the terrain, using their knowledge of the hidden paths. They couldn't match Grok in open battle, so they would not fight in open battle. They would use guile. They would use the element of surprise. "We will turn the river red with their blood," Ariston declared. Not with arrogance, but with cold, hard determination. He saw the flicker of hope return to his followers' eyes. They were outnumbered. They were outmatched. But they had a plan, and a leader who had learned from his failure. The Red River would be their crucible. The battle at the Red River was brutal. Ariston's plan relied on precision, on courage. Lyra and her archers rained arrows from the cliffs. Torvin led a charge to halt the head of Grok's column. Ariston himself led a small, daring force to strike at the supply wagons to create chaos. He fought not just for victory, but for redemption. For the men they had lost at the fortress. For Bram, who lay near death. Every swing of his sword was filled with purpose. He was no longer just fighting against Vorlag, he was fighting for his people. General Grok was a fearsome warrior. He rallied his men, he charged into the fray. He sought out Ariston. "You are the whelp who calls himself king," Grok bellowed. His axe whistled through the air. Ariston met his charge. Their duel was savage. Grok was stronger, more experienced in battle, but Ariston fought with a desperate fire. He used his agility. He fought with his mind as well as his blade. He remembered Cale's words, the heart of a lion. He saw an opening, a moment of overconfidence from Grok. Ariston struck, a swift, decisive blow. Grok fell. With Grok's fall, panic spread through Vorlag's soldiers. The rebels pressed their advantage. The river began to run red, not just with enemy blood, but with their own. The victory was hard-won, costly, but it was a victory. They had seized the supplies. They had defeated one of Vorlag's most dreaded commanders. When the fighting ended, Ariston stood amidst the carnage, exhausted, wounded, but resolute. He had faced his doubts. He had faced his fears. He had led his people to a crucial triumph. He was no longer just a survivor. He was a commander. The news of the victory at Red River spread like wildfire. Whispers of the returned king grew louder. More people flocked to his banner. Not just outcasts and rebels, but seasoned soldiers, minor lords who had grown tired of Vorlag's tyranny. Bram miraculously began to recover. He saw the change in Ariston, the grim determination, the quiet confidence. "You are a king now," Bram whispered, his voice weak but clear. Not just by blood, but by deed. Ariston felt the truth in those words. The exile had forged him. The battles had tempered him. Wisdom had come through fire and blood. With their numbers growing, Ariston's force became a true army. They were still smaller than Vorlag's legions, but they fought with a passion Vorlag's conscripts could not match. Ariston planned his campaign carefully. He did not rush. He consolidated his gains. He trained his men. He listened to his counsel, Lyra's scouting, Torvin's tactical mind, Kael's wisdom. He learned that a king does not need to have all the answers, but he must know how to find them. He must trust his people. The time came to march on the capital, Eldoria City, where Vorlag sat on his stolen throne. The journey was fraught with peril. Vorlag sent forces to intercept them. But Ariston outmaneuvered them. He used the land to his advantage. He chose his battles carefully. Each victory brought more defectors from Vorlag's ranks. The people of the countryside hailed him as a liberator. They offered food, shelter, their sons and daughters to join his cause. The tide was turning. Hope was a powerful current sweeping them towards the capital. Finally, they stood before the high walls of Eldoria City, the city of his birth, the city of his father, the city he had lost. Vorlag was inside, entrenched with his elite guard. The siege would be long, bloody. Ariston addressed his army. "We have journeyed far," he said. His voice rang clear, full of conviction. "We have known loss. We have known pain. But we have also known courage. We have found strength in each other. Beyond those walls is our home. Beyond those walls is our future. Fight for Eldoria." A mighty roar answered him. They were ready. The assault began. Catapults hurled stones. Ladders scraped against the walls. Lyra's archers cleared the ramparts. Torvin led the vanguard. Ariston was everywhere, inspiring his men, fighting where the battle was thickest. He saw fear in the eyes of Vorlag's defenders. They fought for a tyrant. His men fought for freedom, for justice, for the king who had returned from exile, the king who had earned their loyalty. Slowly, painstakingly, they gained the walls. The outer gates splintered. The final battle for Eldoria was at hand. The air was thick with smoke and the clang of steel. Inside the city, chaos reigned. Vorlag's soldiers were demoralized. Ariston's forces pushed towards the royal palace. The streets where Ariston once played as a child were now battlegrounds. He saw the faces of the city folk, peeking from windows, hope mixed with fear. He knew this victory must be more than just conquest. It must be liberation. He ordered his men to show restraint, to protect the innocent. This was his city. These were his people. He would not be another tyrant. The final confrontation took place in the throne room, the same room where Ariston had seen his father betrayed. Vorlag stood before the throne, no longer arrogant. Fear glinted in his eyes. His elite guard fought fiercely, but they were overwhelmed. Ariston faced Vorlag, sword to sword. It was not a duel of skill, it was a reckoning. "This kingdom was never yours," Ariston said. His voice was cold. "You built your reign on fear and blood." Vorlag snarled. He lunged. Ariston disarmed him with a swift move. Vorlag fell to his knees, defeated. Justice was swift, but it was not cruel. Vorlag faced the judgment he deserved, not by Ariston's hand alone but by a council of those he had wronged. Ariston walked through the palace. The silence was heavy. He reached the throne. His throne. He did not sit immediately. He looked out at his weary, battered but triumphant allies. Kale, Torvin, Lyra, Bram, leaning on a spear but smiling. They had made this possible. He was king, but he was their king, because they had chosen him, because he had earned it. He finally took his seat. The crown was brought to him. Not the old one, lost to treachery, but a new one, forged in the fires of their struggle. As he placed it on his head, a cheer erupted. From his soldiers, from the people of Eldoria. It was a sound of hope, of a new beginning. The sun streamed through the high windows of the throne room. It felt like a new dawn. King Ariston looked at his people. His journey had been epic, filled with hardship, but he had returned. He had reclaimed his birthright, not just as a king but as a leader, forged in exile, tempered by battle, ready to rule.